So we're back here at the Herrick Street entrance again, and we've talked about how these big pillars and the gates were originally much closer to the school. But something that people keep asking about is on this plate, the Summit School for Boys. Well, if this has been here since almost the beginning, I thought it was just a girls' school. Actually, what happened is, yes, the Sisters of Notre Dame, their charter is to teach girls. And in the 1890s, though, you had these tiny little classes and you had girls, and the families really wanted to send the little brothers with them. So the initial thought was, okay, but we'll only keep them until First Communion because, after that, boys just go wild. Then those boys aged out. They get to First Communion, and they thought, okay, we'll keep them until the 8th grade, and then they must go because that would just be too messy. So we're up into the 1920s, 30s, and the boys' department was started. So not the boys' school, we'll get to that in a second. So the Summit Boys Department was run by the very formidable, but apparently extremely loving Sister Marie of the Purification. It was on the first floor of the upper school where the science wing is now. If you're familiar with that, it's where Dr. Raplogel's room is now and where Peggy Brueggemann was in years past. And it was behind a set of big glass doors. And that's where apparently a lot of boys reported when they were in 8th grade, having spied the girls that they said later became their girlfriends or their wives. So there are some wonderful stories and pictures of these boys pre-1940 on the field and pony carts and sports and some really wonderful stories of what that experience was like of some of these boys who did go from kindergarten and the Alpha all the way up through 8th grade. Then in 1940, the Summit Boys School was started, again under Henry Werner, and then we had the reunification or the school becoming co-ed in high school in the 1970s.
Recently, I discovered in one of the old rostrums, so this would have been from probably somewhere in the early 30s. And remember, it was a literary journal through 1950. So this was from Neil DeCourcy during his 8th grade year, and he's reflecting back on his time at the Summit in the boys department. And he talks about having been at Summit for 6 years in the Alpha, and then the experience of diving into the, quote, unknown regions of the boys department. So I'd just like to share some of that with you. We always considered the Alpha a school to itself, and the rest of our education was to be gotten, well, elsewhere at the Summit, as we called it. I'd heard many rumors of what happened and what didn't happen to the boys when they were transplanted to the 7th grade. I had visions of dungeons, of severe teachers, of hard and fast rules. All these tales and ideas had been handed down to us by the older boys. We firmly believed some of them, but we're a little doubtful about others. I can say now that they have been 2 happy years filled to overflowing with many and useful lessons. I fully realize now, however, that they were pruning and character-forming years. I trust that the lessons of honor, of uprightness, of courtesy, of thoughtfulness, of chivalry, and of piety have not been in vain, and that I shall always be a credit to my alma mater.